to see things differently. I am determined 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 to see this irritation differently. I am determined to see this annoying person differently. I am determined to see, name the specific thing that you'd like to see differently, or what you'd like to see differently in a different person or in a certain person. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see whoever differently. Now you fill in a few blanks. I am determined to see differently. I am determined to see differently. Who is it that kind of upset you? I am determined to see that person differently. Or maybe it's a situation. I am determined to see the situation differently. You name it. I am determined to see this differently. Do a few. To see blank differently. I am determined to see differently. Determined to see things differently. Okay, well, did you take a minute and try to pinpoint a few things that people that irritated you, or situations, or different aspects of different people? You can bring all those things up in that moment and that's what we want to do 5 times today for about a minute. Look at those situations that kind of just cause you a little unhappiness and use those as subject matter in saying, I'm determined to see blank differently. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. Let's take a look at our lesson. I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks. And we've had a kind of a dry Ozark. We're a dry year this year. Some of this bamboo's not getting enough rain. I've never had to water anything in middle of winter, but I'm thinking some of this is dying just from lack of water. I'm almost certain. I am determined to see things differently. And like I said, I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from here, my bamboo patch. Teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks. And thank you all so much for joining me. We're ready for lesson 21. I am determined to see things differently for Wednesday, January 21st of 2026. It's actually Sunday for me preceding that Wednesday. I am determined to see things differently. The idea for today is obviously a continuation and extension of the preceding one. This time, however, specific mind-searching periods are necessary, in addition to applying the idea to particular situations as they may arise. 5 practice periods are urged, allowing a full minute for each. Okay? 5 times today for a full minute. Search your mind. for things that you'd like to see differently. And whatever you'd like to see differently, any kind of an irritation, anger, upset is appropriate to apply in the blank. I am determined to see blank differently. Or a person, place, thing, or situation. We want to see everything as beautiful. That's our goal. And that's when we're clearly aware that we're in the kingdom of heaven, that's how we'll see everything. That's the only difference between where we're at now and when we're in heaven, is that everything will be beautiful. Where right now we still see some things that don't make us feel it's beautiful. Okay. In the practice periods, begin by repeating the idea to yourself, then close your eyes and search your mind carefully for situations, past, present, and anticipated, that arouse anger in you. The anger may take the form of any reaction ranging from mild irritation to rage. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. Wow. So, I watch the news. I try to get a little news every day about what's going on around the world, and I'm seeing what's going on after Renee Good was shot by Jonathan Ross, and there's a lot of people that are outraged and about that. And what we want to learn to do is use those things as our practice period. I'm not saying you shouldn't stand up and let your voice be heard on what you think is right, but do it kindly, without attack. Be gentle. Very, very important that we don't use attack, not even verbal attack. It comes back to hurt us as well as everybody else. So let's be kind on our siding with what's right, and let's encourage. I'm not saying you shouldn't be protesting, but just do it kindly, but never use attack. And you can use this lesson today in helping you to be at peace. I am determined to see, and you could bring up that situation, the killing of Renee Good, differently. So those are the kind of things that we want to use this. Even in our politics, a lot of people think that they're justified in speaking evil and angry at people if it's a political subject, but that has the same effect on us. So let's make sure we look at everything, whether it's our relationships at home with our family members, or if it's something in the broader scheme like what's going on in Minneapolis, or if it's something going on like in another country with there's a lot of tension going on in Iran right now, and Palestine and Ukraine, and all those situations. We can say, I am determined to see whatever the thing that kind of bothers you is differently. Try therefore not to let the... Okay, so let's see. Where are we at? The anger may take the form of any reaction ranging from mild irritation to rage. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. Try therefore not to let the little thoughts of anger escape you in the practice periods. Did I read the first couple sentences of paragraph 2? Let me read it again. In the practice periods, begin by repeating the idea to yourself, then close your eyes and search your mind carefully for situations, past, present, and anticipated, that arouse anger in you. The anger may take the form of any reaction ranging from mild irritation to rage. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. Oh my. Try therefore not to let the little thoughts of anger escape you in the practice periods. Remember that you do not really recognize what arouses anger in you, and nothing that you believe in this connection means anything. You will probably be tempted to dwell more on some situations or persons than others, on the fallacious grounds that they are more obvious. This is not so. It is merely an example of the belief that some forms of attack are more justified than others. As you search your mind for all the forms in which attack thoughts present themselves, hold each one in mind while you tell yourself, I am determined to see, and then name a person differently that you're kind of upset with. I am determined to see the president differently, or I am determined to see whoever it is that you're upset with. I am determined to see a specific situation differently. I'm determined to see whatever the problem is indifferently. Maybe it's the extrajudicial killings that were going on and maybe still are in these boat strikes. But whatever it is that causes you discomfort, that would be appropriate to say, I'm determined to see this boat strike situation differently. Try to be as specific as possible. You may, for example, focus your anger on a particular attribute of a particular person, believing that the anger is limited to this aspect. If your perception is suffering from this form of distortion, say, I'm determined to see, and then specify the attribute in the name of the person differently. Okay, be sure you do five of those today. We'll do one more as we close. Let's go back and look in our text reading, though. And we're ready to finish chapter 2. We're in Roman numeral 8, the meaning of the last judgment. One of the ways in which you can correct the magic miracle confusion is to remember that you did not create yourself. You are apt to forget this when you become egocentric, and this puts you in a position where a belief in magic is virtually inevitable. Belief in magic, where everyone's not treated equally, where you get something, but it's not looked on that everybody benefits from it. That's how I see magic. It's like, give me this, but it doesn't take into consideration everything. What we want to have is that Holy Spirit guided request of God gives me whatever is good for all of us. Your will to create was given you by your Creator, who was expressing the same will in His creation. Since creative ability rests in the mind, everything you create is necessarily a matter of will. It also follows that whatever you alone make is real in your own sight, though not in the mind of God. This basic distinction leads directly into the real meaning of the last judgment. The last judgment is one of the most threatening ideas in your thinking. This is because you do not understand it. Judgment is not an attribute of God. God doesn't judge. It was brought into being only after the separation, when it became one of the many learning devices to be built into the overall plan. Just as the separation occurred over millions of years, the last judgment will extend over a similarly long period, and perhaps an even longer one. Its length can, however, be greatly shortened by miracles, the device for shortening, but not abolishing time. If a sufficient number become truly miracle-minded, this shortening process can be virtually immeasurable. It is essential, however, that you free yourself from fear quickly, because you must emerge from the conflict if you are to bring peace to other minds. So we want to be good examples of being emerged from the conflict, seeing that God's in charge, and that we want to encourage people not to attack. If you're up in Minneapolis, don't use attack, and encourage others not to by your example, and maybe even by your words. We don't ever want to use attack. And the whole society, he says that if a sufficient number become truly miracle-minded, get this revelation of that we're all one, and that we need to love our neighbors as ourselves, the shortening process can be virtually immeasurable. It is essential, however, that you free yourself from fear quickly, because you must emerge from the conflict if you are to bring peace to other minds. Paragraph 3, the last judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. Actually, it will be undertaken by my brothers, all of us, with my help, says Yeshua. It is a final healing rather than a meting out of punishment, however much you may think that punishment is deserved. Punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness, and the aim of the last judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. Right-mindedness, where we're able to see that everything is wonderful, beautiful, worth being thankful for. The last judgment might be called a process of right evaluation. It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not. After this, the ability to choose can be directed rationally. Until this distinction is made, however, the vacillation between free and imprisoned will cannot but continue. Paragraph 4. And the first step toward freedom involves a sorting out of the false from the true. This is a process of separation in the constructive sense and reflects the true meaning of the apocalypse. Okay, so he says the first step toward freedom involves sorting out the false from the true. This is a process of separation in the constructive sense and reflects the true meaning of the apocalypse. Okay, I looked up the word apocalypse. Has two primary meanings. Its original biblical definition as a revelation. I think that's how he was saying that when you start sorting out what's false and what's true, it leads into a revelation. And then the modern usage of the word referring to a catastrophic end, apocalypse. Clearly something derived from the ego thinking of men instead of from the biblical understanding of a revelation. So the first step toward freedom involves the sorting out of the false from the true. This is a process of separation in the constructive sense and reflects the true meaning of the apocalypse. Everyone will ultimately look upon his own creations and choose to preserve only what is good, just as God himself looked upon what he created and knew that it was good. And you can read about that in Genesis chapter 1, verse 31 specifically. At this point, the mind can begin to look with love on its own creations because of their worthiness. At the same time, the mind will inevitably disown its miscreations, which without belief will no longer exist. Wow, there's your apocalypse, and that's what we want. A happy apocalypse, a revelation. And the last paragraph, 5. The term last judgment is frightening, not only because it has been projected onto God, but also because of the association of last with death. This is an outstanding example of upside-down perception. If the meaning of the last judgment is objectively examined, it is quite apparent that it is really the doorway to life. Starting to see what's not worth holding on to and what is leads you directly into heaven, the doorway to life. Your own last judgment, doorway to life. No one who lives in fear is really alive. Your own last judgment cannot be directed toward yourself because you are not your own creation. You can, however, apply it meaningfully and at any time to everything you have made and retain in your memory only what is creative and good. You know, we were created in God's image. We didn't create ourselves, but we were given the same ability to create. And everything that's around you is your creation. We want to start seeing the part of it that is from our true source, the good, the God, the love, and let everything else go as a creation or an apparent making from our own fear thoughts. This is what your right-mindedness cannot but dictate. Let's back up here. Your own last judgment cannot be directed toward yourself because you are not your own creation. You can, however, apply it meaningfully and at any time to everything you have made, and retain in your memory only what is creative and good. This is what your right-mindedness cannot but dictate. The purpose of time is solely to give you time to achieve this judgment, that everything's good. See, everything is beautiful. And hasten the apocalypse, the revelation that we're entering into heaven, the doorway to life. When everything you retain is lovable, there is no reason for fear to remain with you. This is your part in the atonement, in the last judgment, in the apocalypse, is to see that everything's loving and no fear left in you. Oh, what a beautiful thought, huh? Reminds me of when the mother of my kids, my first wife, Diane, came to me in a dream and said, you need to feel beauty for every person, place, thing, and situation, because that's the only thing that's different about where I'm at and where you're at, that you don't feel the beauty in everything. And I do now. I see everything as beautiful. And you can too. And you'll come to where I'm at. I will never want to go back to where you're at, but you can come to where I'm at just by feeling with all your might, all the beauty of love in everything. Don't let there be any exceptions. And that is the doorway to life, the doorway to heaven. Okay, what's going on around the world? This week has been the week of prayer for Christian unity. Martin Luther Jr. King Day. I'm not sure how come they picked today as Wednesday the 21st. Maybe I'm not sure. Feast of St. Agnes. It's a Catholic and some Christians holiday. She's the patron saint of young girls and chastity. Posh Krishna Paksha Dwitriya, which is a Hindu celebration. I'm sure I didn't pronounce that properly. And then out of holidays and observances, I found it's International Playdate Day, International Sweatpants Day, Mariachi Day, Museum Selfie Day, Bakers, Crafters, Makers Day, Conscious Uncoupling Day, Cheese Socks Day, Granola Bar Day, Hug Your Puppy Day, Hugging Day, New England Clam Chowder Day, One-Liner Day, Own Your Own Home Day. There's a good one-liner, own your own home. Wordless Wednesday, Squirrel Appreciation Day, and around here we have the Eastern Gray Squirrel, which is what is that? It's called a Ascurus carolinensis. Is there any other? That's everything I found on holidays and observances. Thank you for that, holidaysandobservances.com. And then I've got this new catalog. I wanted to tell you a little bit about, on page 3 of this Chief River seed catalog, or it's actually a tree catalog. There is I did a white spruce, they're calling it in here, a Picea glauca towards the end, around Christmas time. I think it was towards the end of last year that I was sitting by one. But I can buy these here, and I was kind of thinking, they made such a great windbreak. And it's called the white spruce, a fast grower that will thrive in a variety of soils, but prefers loamy, well-drained conditions, frequently selected for use as a windbreak or Christmas trees, with an exceptional needle retention, deer resistant, zones 2 through 6. So it do fine here in my area. So I was kind of thinking about maybe doing a windbreak with those trees. Anyway, white spruce, not real resistant to rot, so which is one of the considerations I like in a tree that I'm growing, like your juniper virginianas, the cedars around here, would make nice fence posts. For you ones that are reading through the other readings, original edition, read chapter 3, paragraph 11 through 24, chapter 21 in Matthew of the Bible. Read page 34 of Iyengar Yoga, and out of A Course of Love, read the rest of chapter 4 to the end, from 19 to the end. If you've been kind of following along, I kind of got mixed up and told you to read the whole chapter 2 or 3 days ago. So maybe it'll be an easy day for you tomorrow, not much reading. I try to make it to where you're not overwhelmed just every day. Okay, let's see. Let's close with our song, I Am Determined to See, and let's go ahead and do another 1-minute practice period as we're closing. And you can kind of think about things that are bothersome to you, that are irritating, upset, small or big, close at home or far away. If it's something that causes you a little discomfort, well, then you want to be able to say, I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see whatever's irritating me differently. I am determined to see some person differently. Now you name the irritations and the people or the aspects that seem to be upsetting to you, and say, I am determined to see differently. Differently. I am determined to see it differently. I am determined to see differently. I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. So let's be determined to see everything differently until we see and feel beauty for everyone and everything. Then we can truly be saying, well, I'm loving my neighbor as myself. I can feel it. Okay? And let's remember that everyone's our neighbor. That was the story of the Good Samaritan. Go back and read it if you haven't. Everyone's your neighbor. And our word for peace, we're going to take it from our Lakota brothers and sisters, the Lakota Sioux. Wolakota. So Wolakota be with you. Peace be with you. I am determined to see things differently. Wolakota.